Hello fellow cyborgs and welcome to another Hindsight is 2020 video, which is part of my rereading project for 2020. Today I'm going to talk to you about 5 poetry collections that I want to reread this year. These poetry collections were all read in either 2015 or 2016, and they were all given 5 stars by me, or rather, I gave them all 5 stars if we're not going to use the passive voice. Let me go ahead and just show them to you. I remember picking up Love and Misadventure by Lang Leave. I found it in a local to me then bookstore and brought it home and read it and was blown away. I remember these poems mostly being short, some of them being about love, and I also believe that there was a poem in here that I featured in my 2015 wrap-up as my favorite poem of the year. I then went back to the store and purchased her second collection, Lullabies and Something, and I did not enjoy it nearly as much, and I ended up giving that away. But this stayed on my shelves, even though I haven't read it since. I have a feeling that this is not going to stay on my shelves this year. I'm not into love poetry anymore. I would love to be pleasantly surprised, but I just have a feeling that I'm not going to want to keep this one on my shelves. A Short History of Crazy Bone by Patrick Friesen came into my life in a similar way. It was the same bookstore. I came home and I read it, and I loved it, I decided. I remember this is called a long poem. It's about Crazy Bone, who is a woman who I believe you would say is mentally ill, and I remember it being divided into different smaller poems. I remember specific poems having specific imagery that I found delightful at the time, and so those were things that I liked a lot. I don't remember the point of the poem, how it ends, if it has a narrative or it's just little vignettes about this person's life. I'm also skeptical that this one will stay at a 5-star rating. However, I have a feeling that I'm more likely to keep this one on my shelves, I think, than Love and Misadventure, but we'll just have to see. Life on Mars by Tracy K. Smith. I don't remember how I heard about this, but I remember reading a library copy the first time and having to get my copy a second time. I remember the themes of these poems was Tracy K. Smith dealing with the death of her father, who was, I don't know, a scientist, an engineer. He was one of the engineers who worked on the Hubble Space Telescope. Thank you, Dana Jennings, for your blurb on the back. So there's a lot of science and universe and astronomy references in here, space references in here. I also remember a David Bowie reference in here. And I think this one has a really good chance of staying at a 5-star level and probably will stay on my shelves. Here we have the selected poems by Emily Dickinson. So I, again, found this in my local bookshop, brought it home, read it. The little goth in my heart loves Emily Dickinson intellectually, no matter what her poetry actually is, because she was a lonely, gothy writer. And that's my image of her, even though I'm nearly certain that I've heard someone on YouTube talking about her, and that's actually not a very good representation of who Emily Dickinson and what her life was actually like. I remember after finishing this that I wanted to read all of her poetry, but since have never attempted to do so, never even thought about it. I also remember that I read this out loud to a cat that I was fostering at the time. Was it Fiona? I forget what cat it was, but there you go. Me and a foster cat shared this experience. And again, I remember that the poems that I really enjoyed were the ones that had words in it that I enjoyed, like ghost, haunted, death. So that'll be a fun experience, seeing the poems that past Amanda enjoyed. I hope that I still really enjoy this, and I hope that if I do actually enjoy this, that I pursue getting her I don't know if I actually want to read all of her poems. You know, sometimes you can love something and love something this much and you don't have to do the whole thing. Sometimes trying to go above and beyond can actually poison the little thing. If you guys remember my Maya Angelou autobiography journey last year, that's what happened. So we'll see what happens here. And then we have The No You Never Listened To by Meggie Royer. I don't know where I heard about this. I can't remember if I heard about this or I heard about the publisher or I found the publisher, but I ordered like 3 things from this publisher and this was one of them. I buddy read this with Acacia Ives, and I remember us reading the poems aloud to one another over Voxer. I remember a lot of these poems being about rape, and somehow it didn't give me icky feelings on the inside. Like it didn't make me feel sick like it normally does when I encounter rape in the things that I read. I remember this being incredibly powerful and emotive and exploring all the things around that in a really interesting way. I remember loving this. I would be very surprised if this did not get 5 stars again. I remember being really impressed, and my takeaway of this is feeling like it was a really important text and that more people should read it, and that I was really glad that it existed. Hopefully that'll be my feelings again upon rereading. So those are the 5 poetry collections that I will be picking through over the next few months. So hopefully I will have an update for you in summertime, I think. We'll have to see. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have a beloved poetry collection. I haven't been reading poetry in the last few years, but I think I would like to. And I think rereading from my shelves is a great place to start. But if you have any recommendations that you think I would like, or that you just love unconditionally and want to tell someone about it, I would love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, reread some poetry and continue to be lovely.